All right, we're back. Technical difficulties. It ain't a I.B.F.HotRods video without technical difficulties. So hopefully you can hear what I'm saying in this microphone this time. This is the only beer I got. I've already cracked it because we've already done this fucking video once without fucking audio. So here's to you guys. Yeah, check engine lights on, ladies and gentlemen. We all know what that means. It's time for an update video. So, without further ado, pinky's out. Beer's already been done, did crack. Cerveza! That goes out to you. You know who you are, Justin. He's going to love that one. Shout out to that man. But, yeah, hold on. Oh, it's delicious. Like I said, shout out to Justin. Cerveza time. It's Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. We haven't done a video in a while. We were going to do a video recently, but a couple weeks ago, but it just fucking didn't work out, and I apologize completely. But hey, man, just stay tuned and subscribe and all that good stuff, and you'll be. Even if I say I'm going to do one, doesn't mean it's going to come out. So if you subscribe and one pops up, guess what? You're going to be notified. So, anyways, on to the builds, because that's what you're here for. On to the 65. Oh, before I go any farther, this place is a fucking mess, because it is. We've been working hard, and I just got done working outside at the house. Had to put a little TLC in today, and I'm sweating my ball sack off, and it's fucking supposedly it was 67 today, but they're liars. The weatherman, I tell you what, if I could lie as much as a fucking weatherman did and got paid what he did, I'd probably be a weatherman. But I can't go to bed at night and telling people that there isn't going to be a tornado and their fucking house disappears. You know what I mean? I just can't do it. Moving on, down to the 67 C10, ladies and gentlemen. If you take a look at this, it might look like we're going backwards, but if you're slightly ignorant to how vehicles are built, they get put together and taken apart numerous times just because that's how the fuck it works. You know, just because something's together doesn't mean it's not going to have to come apart and be put back together all again and then finalized and then ripped apart one last time to be painted and prepped and the whole 9 yards and then put the fuck back together. Just how it goes. We had to take all the fenders and everything off, the whole front clip basically off of here, because we came in and we started finalizing some areas. Excuse me. The structure is solid for the most part now, because as you can see, we welded in here. We got lower areas that needed to be modified for this. Let me plug in the light so you can take a good gander in here. I'm not sure where the last update was on the old 67, but you can see that we have the firewall all squared away. We had to patch a fucking hole over here. Everything's welded in. We tied into the existing cab over there. You can see it's a little rough as far as it's not metal finished, but our welds are fucking good, and our welds they're penetrant. Penetrant. Is that a word, Randy? Penetrant. They are penetrated. They are penetrated properly, and they are going to hold like a motherfucker. But we have everything squared away as far as the outer shell, the firewall. We have welded in. I'm pretty sure all this was at least tacked in. We ended up having to make this lower setup. We'll bring you into the inside of the truck here so you can see all this stuff. As you know, we had to finish off the floor here, and you can see the fabrication going on as far as the floors go and everything. We had to make this internal structure. This is designed this way because when you turn the wheel, now that it drops on its nuts, the edge of the tire here is actually coming out into here. So this gives you enough room for whenever you're throwing a steering wheel around and stuff that it's not going to catch onto here. That's why we had to make this. Plus, over there on the driver's side, it's going to come in and it's going to be a handy, nice little footrest for whenever you're driving. As you can see, we're bringing in the floor pans that we just made and tying everything together. Now, we ended up just spot welding everything in. We're going to come back around and we're going to actually weld after the floor's in. We're going to pop the fucking cab off. We're going to flip it over because we got the bottom to attend to. So it's going to be a lot of shit going on here. But what I wanted to get across is we're going to finalize the seam that's going to be in here on the backside or the outside, I guess, and weld everything solid as a rock. I did all this that way. I could probably get away with just leaving it like this and then doing some bullshit. I mean, we would probably do lead work in there, whatever, or an all metal or whatever, but we're going to come in, we're going to weld it solid. That way it's going to be solid as a rock. We're using 18 gauge in here, and a lot of people will bitch and complain and say you need to use at least a 16 gauge or whatever for the firewall, but I feel that the bead roll and the structure that we're going to put into this is just going to be as solid as a 16 gauge. And let's face it, I don't have a $60,000 fucking hammering, slamming, bamming fucking machine to bead roll 16 gauge. So, like I said, we heavily bead roll everything for the structural integrity, and then us doing this spot welding and then coming back and welding everything in. I mean, we're making some serious structural integrity here. So that's how we do it, and that's why we do it. So we're going to be moving forward with this. As soon as we get, like I said, as soon as we get that floor all squared away and those last panel pieces, we're going to have to pull everything off because, as you can see, the last shop ended up cutting this out right here, and we don't need this whole big area. We're going to flip it over. I got to bring in the underneath needs cleaned up yet, and I need to create a new structure that comes the whole way out to here, because if you've seen other videos, this is just some junk shit, and we're going to bring in 2x2 square that is going to help stabilize everything. We're going to pull the cab off, like I said. We're going to flip it the fuck over. We're going to do all this baloney, and then we'll put it back the fuck on, and then we'll build out the rest of the transmission tunnel and over top of the driveline system. So that's where the 67's at. Let's move on right behind you to the 65 Riviera. We got a lot of metal work done on this. Last time you saw it, this whole entire area was wide open. This wasn't finalized, so we finished off all the metal work over here. Get rid of some magnets for you, but we finished off all this metal work over here, and we ended up, if you remember, this whole piece wasn't in, so we brought all this together. We welded across this seam here. We metal finished everything here. I got a tiny little fucking pin prick basically that I had to weld in here, but in order to do this, I had to create this whole entire inner structure that was right here, and it had to be all flush and look all good right here, because this is all tacked into all this bullshit. And if that wasn't enough, there's an inner piece that is like this big that runs the whole length of this that was rotted out, so I had to rebuild all that baloney, and we had to metal finish, not so much metal finish, but just put all that structure back in. And then if that wasn't enough, this whole lip right here, we had to remake, that goes the whole way down here just to finish this off. You can see the weld's still on here. I just need to finish this up. So that's all that needs done on that. We're moving forward. Like I said, all this has been metal finished and cleaned up and shined up. Everything underneath here has been trimmed up to where we're satisfied with. All the welds are fucking done, the spot welds and everything. There's just so much time and effort into doing something like this, because just like any other video that we've done, you know that we clean everything, we prep everything, we treat the rust, we kill the rust, we seal the rust, weld through primer. The metal finish in itself is a tedious, it's a long, tedious system, because in order to weld this entire seam in here, in order to weld everything from up here around in the back and around and all that shit, literally it's a tack. So there's hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of fucking tacks on this whole entire system that we have put back together. You can't just weld and then keep on going, because then you're going to be looking at warping of the metal. You're going to have waves in it and everything. But if you look down the side here, I mean, we're ready to rock and roll. I mean, as far as metal finishing, or not metal finishing, but as far as body work goes, I mean, if you got a good angle there, Randy, you can see down the side here. We're not going to have much filler work whatsoever on any of this shit, and that's the way we try to do it. Even though it takes a little bit longer to do some metal work and finishing, we get rid of on the back end as far as the body work goes. Same thing. I know we have the truck. We have the car pushed over right now, but over there we're getting everything squared away over there with the same exact concept, because the same exact rust on this side as opposed to that side. So the only good thing is, if you look over here, Randy, if you want to just take a little gander over here, you can see that structural area right there is only a small little chunk that we have to actually replace. Up in here, we had to replace literally this whole big section. We don't have any light. I don't know if you can really get in there and see all that shit up in there, Randy. If you want to do a pan in there or not, it's your call. But yeah, that's where we're at on the Riviera. We're getting ready to finalize the firewall set. As soon as I'm done over there, we're gonna go over here. We're gonna fucking hammer this shit out. We're gonna rock and roll. You know what I mean? Now over here on the Diamond T, if you guys haven't been following along with the Diamond T, we are heading down the home stretch pretty heavy. We have rounded third, and we are fucking headed to home, baby. We ended up the windshields weren't exactly they weren't cut. They were cut right, but they weren't cut right to the application that we needed with these rubbers. The initial thought process was to make these have a swivel system that pulls in and seals, so they were a little oversized. And in order to get the rubbers, we decided on putting rubbers in. We ended up having to get these trimmed down. So that's what we did. We ended up taking, what was it, 3/16 the whole way around. It was in 1/8 of an inch. I don't know, it came out to like 3/16 anyways, to get this all to fit in and for these rubbers to fit in. And if you're just curious what's going on here, this is a 2-piece system. So this comes the whole way around, and then we have a single piece that runs right here. And this urethane, or window weld, whatever the hell you want to call it, window weld, we sealed off some of the seams and everything in here. That way, if it does get wet and water hits it, we can it's going to be properly sealed. But we're going to get you a video of this next week, finalized for the most part with everything off. This is a little bit of behind the scenes bullshit that nobody ever sees. This is how it's done. This is all going to be cleaned up. You can see it's taped off, so the little bit of gap here, this urethane is going to be right over that. You can actually sand this a little bit. We're going to make it nice and pretty. You're not even going to notice it. All windshields and all windows are completely fucking overlooked, no matter how long it takes during a build process. I've worked weeks on windshields and windows and back windows and all this shit and on builds before. And the funny thing is no matter how many hours you have into something to make it seal, make it work, nobody ever looks at it. Nobody ever thinks about it. So I'm kind of glad that this is sitting the way it is. It looks a little fucking, what's the word I'm looking for? Cavemanish, I guess, just because of the way that it is. But it's, when we start, can I peel this? Can we peel this and kind of look at it? Or is it still a little wet, a little moist? Okay, we'll let her fucking ride for today. Randy says don't do it yet. So we're going to let it sit overnight. But we ended up making a couple of changes in here or whatever. We were ready to start test driving on this thing. And if you remember on the old videos, we are running a crank trigger system, which is just like a modern vehicle. They have camshaft position sensors. They have crankshaft position sensors. Well, this has crankshaft position sensor. They just call it a crank trigger. So we had this out and we were going to start test driving and stuff. And the truck actually started, ran, and then it would just shut off. And then we would chase down the issue. We thought we had fixed it with a connection that runs down to the crankshaft sensor, basically is what it is. And we ended up coming in here and thought it was a loose connector. Turns out we got a good connection in there. We changed the connector out and it started running. Everything was fucking fine, hunky-dory. And it decided to take shit again. And it fell on its face in the middle of just running. And it's like, what the hell is going on here? So turns out the crankshaft position sensor or the crank trigger sensor had taken a shit on us. And it was giving us an intermittent reading. So when we would check it, it would read open. And then we would take it all apart and we'd get it on the block or the table over there. And all the ohm readings and everything were fine. So we put it back in because everything was reading fine. So we assumed it was probably a ground issue, or it could be a short in a wire or a pinch in a wire. So we had to start chasing stuff. And this is an MSD box and everything. So literally the process of when you start putting all this electronics into something, one little thing, you have to go back and figure out the path of least resistance. You got to figure out the path of how the fuck it gets from point A to point B, because if that's not working, the MSD box ain't working. So if we go to here and it actually fucking reads right because it's intermittent issue, then we got to figure out if it's the MSD box. And if it ain't the MSD box, then we got to figure out if it's the damn the start retarder. And if it ain't the start retarder, then what the hell could it possibly be? Then maybe it might be a fucking ground issue. So then we got to figure out a ground issue. Well, if it's a ground issue, we got a shut off a shut off controller over there. So maybe it's shorting out through the shut off controller. Why the hell do we got a voltage drop? What the hell's going on? Then we come back and find out that this son of a bitch was the fucking problem to begin with, and it was the intermittent issue. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's the last 10% of any build, is us weeding through some bullshit like that. So that headache, thank God Randy was working on it. I wasn't, because Randy was bitching. And Randy has 3 more gray hairs from that, and he lost a little bit more too. He's not balding. I'm just saying he lost a couple fucking hairs. That's all I'm saying. But anyways, back to the truck. As you can see, we got some badass rear view mirrors on the son of a bitch. The seats and everything are in. Everything is finalized. This has an electric water pump in it. So when we were testing it, when it was running, we were like, okay, we really need to figure out how and when and what the hell's going on with the water pump. So we ended up, we have a new light in here for that. You know, there's so much going on in here. We diagnosed an issue with the air ride. When we were dropping the air ride, it turns out it would just drop it on its nuts. And it turns out we had to put in some sort of basically a resistor in the line so that it wouldn't just air completely out. So if you just tap to try to get air out, it would drop the fucking front end completely on its nuts. And we didn't want that, obviously. You can't be driving down the road and just tap it and all of a sudden you're completely aired out. So we ended up putting, is resistor reasonable here, Randy? Yeah, reducer, resistor, same thing. We ended up having to put a reducer in line here, which, if you're not familiar with it, is this right here. Am I correct? Yeah. I wasn't over here during the process, and I fucking figured that's what the hell it was. So this actually allows, let me see here, less air to come out whenever you dump this fucking thing or release. And these valves in here need this resistor or reducer, I guess, to allow enough back pressure, basically, for it to read properly and for it to stop. That way it didn't just dump it on its nuts. If that makes sense, fucking great. If it doesn't, welcome to fucking Air Ride. You know, we're using some bigger airlines. Usually we're using a little bit smaller airline, but this probably has a lot to do with that situation, because we've never really ran into issues like that. The only time we're running into issues like that is whenever we're running larger airlines. And like I said, I only ran into situations like that in the 18-wheeler world. And that's pretty much where these lines are coming from, as far as if you're comparing fucking apples to apples and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, we're down the home stretch. Now that we got this crank trigger fucking rock and roll, baby, we're ready to rock and roll. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, technical difficulties again. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know where the hell you cut off at, and I don't know where I was, but we can at least turn the lights on for you. How about that? Let me turn the lights on, because this is one of the coolest things about this whole fucking truck. If I can find the damn lights. There we go. Lights on? Yeah! So, we're going to, fingers crossed, test drive and everything. We're not running into any more issues. As you can see, we got lights on everywhere. Yeah, I mean, this thing's gonna be a beast coming down the road, especially whenever this 427 is just screaming and hollering and yelling at everybody. So let me turn the lights back on, and you know, this one's for you guys. Cheers, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you liked the video. I'm sure I missed half of the shit we did, just because it's been weeks since we did shit, weeks since we did a video. Yeah, make sure you subscribe and like, and if you got any questions about anything we're doing, fucking shoot a message. If you want a beer koozie like this, all you gotta do is just reach out and let us know you want one. If you want a t-shirt, reach out. Anybody that has ordered t-shirts and everything, they're going out this week before the 4th of July. Happy Independence Day, ladies and gentlemen. Happy 4th of July. All that good shit, because that's coming down the line. And I'm proud to be an American. That goes out to the wife. She knows I love that song. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed the updates. Sorry about the fucking the issues with the video, but that's what happens, you know. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, next time you're going to see this thing running down the road, hopefully fingers crossed, it'll be out of here. We'll just be going gung-ho and other stuff. Oh, we're going to do another video. We have the latest, well, I'll just leave it a surprise. Tune in next week, ladies and gentlemen. We got a surprise for you. Until then, pinkies out, baby. Here's looking at you.